Now here is an amazing next word that comes, that is placed immediately after tat. That is Savituhu, Savithru. You can say Savithru or you can say Savituhu. Okay. So what is this Savituhu? Yeah. And I think in the first session that we did on Gayatri Mantra, we discussed about whether this Savituhu means the sun or it is somebody else. Okay. So I have quite a busy slide here, but I want you to be thinking about four different concepts about what the sun, Savitu, actually means. So Savituhu in a very superficial sense could mean the sun. The sun, as we know in our solar system, is the giver and sustainer of life. Without the sun, there is no life on earth. It is because of the sun there is rain, and because there is rain, there are crops. Because there are crops, there is food. Because there is food, beings are born and they are alive and they are able to sustain. So in that sense, sun is the giver and sustainer of life. So fair enough that we want to say thank you to the sun and worship the sun. But is that all to it? When I say Savituhu, is that what Vishwamitra is talking about? Mind you, Vishwamitra is in deep meditation and he is thinking about Brahman. He is thinking about the supreme being. And in this same verse, the first word was Tataha, all pervasive. Is this sun all pervasive? The material sun that you see, is it all pervasive? No, it is not. It is there in one particular location. The rays may be going everywhere in the solar system, but it clearly is not the material sun, is what the Vedas are telling us. Now, I also want to tangentially to another angle about the sun, and I just feel that it might be interesting because this concept of the sun as a deity of worship is not unique to Sanatana Dharma. Okay, if you look at many of the world philosophies, sun and the contemplation of the sun is interesting, is important. And we all know about this Egyptian god who's called Ra. Yeah, Ra, the sun god, who is the sustainer and giver of life in Egyptian system. And this sun, the worshipping of the sun is not unique, was not unique just to the Egyptian philosophies, but across Africa, across Aztecs, across various other religions, sun has played an important role as a form of worship. And again, that is not surprising because this Ra, look at in Sanskrit, what is the name of sun? The sun is called Ravi. Ravi means sun, and the same Ra of Ravi becomes the Ra of the Egyptian mythology. So I hope you find it interesting because everything seems to be linked up to it. Yeah. So sun plays an important role in our contemplation, not just because we wake up and see it outside and then say, oh, this is so awesome and wonderful, so let's worship it. No, because as in the first week of our Gayatri Mantra, I told you about who this Savituhu is, and we said, and we looked at a lot of evidence, both from Purusha Shukta and other places. But I've just listed just to remind you just a couple of verses. One from, of course, the Purusha Shukta, which comes in Kshudra Shukta Mahashukta Mandala, the 10th mandala of the Rigveda Samhita. And what does it say there? Chandrama Manaso Jataha Chakshur Suryo Ajayata. Okay, there is the clue of the Rig Veda itself, which says Chakshuhu Suryo Ajayata, means where what that mantra says is from the eyes of the Supreme comes the Surya. So that Surya cannot be the material Surya because this Brahman is non-material. So something else is coming from the eyes of the Surya of the Brahman, and that Surya there is the Surya Devata. That is how you read that. Okay, so that gives you a clue that perhaps maybe this is talking about the Surya Devata who is inside the sun. Possible. The same 10th mandala also talks about Surya Chandramaso Data Yata Purvam Akalpayat. So this sun comes in every creation. It is the same come. The sun material comes, sun comes. But who is the creator of the material sun? Talks about this Data. Exactly how the previous sun was created in the previous creation. Similarly, the sun of the present creation is created. Okay, so the sun there definitely does not mean the material sun. It means somebody possibly inside the sun. And then Gita, of course, the 15th verse, 12th one says, Yad Aditya Gatam Tejo Jagat Bhasayate Akilam. Yeah. The material sun emits sun rays not on its own accord. It is because I am inside the sun and I am making it function that way. So there comes your clue. When you look at all these things, perhaps this Savithru is the name of the indweller or the Antaryamin of the Surya Devata who is inside the sun. So that is what we sort of concluded when we did the first session on the Gayatri Mantra. Now, I want to here introduce you a very interesting philosophical discussion that happens in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and I'll come to it a little bit later. But this is just to give you a different angle to it. So there is a particular Brahmanam in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad called Ajata Shatru Brahmanam. Some of you might have heard about this. Some of you might have read Ajata Shatru Brahmanam. It's a very interesting story. Essentially, it's a very interesting incident, essentially about a Brahmana. He started off as a Drupta Balaki, as he is called. Balaki is the name of this Brahmin, and the Upanishad says is Drupta Balaki. Drupta Balaki means some full of ego. Drupta means full of ego. So this is an egoistic Brahmana who actually goes to this king, who is a Kshatriya. He goes to Ajata Shatru and he boasts about his knowledge. He says, look, I know everything about God and I know how to worship God. I will teach you. So Ajata Shatru is a highly exalted, knowledgeable, philosophical Kshatriya. His knowledge of the Supreme Being is way above this egoistic Brahmana called Balaki. So there is a conversation that happens between them. And in that, the very first Pratika or the deity that Balaki talks about is, and I'll read it for you, it's interesting. Sahovacha, Gargyo Eva, Asau Aditye Purushe, Yetam Eva Aham Brahma Upasa Iti. Sahovacha Ajata Shatru Mama Etasmin Sambadishta Atishtaha Sarvesham Bhutanam Murda Raja Itiva Aham Yetam Upasa Iti. So what that essentially means is, so they start off this conversation about how to worship the Supreme, what kind of pratika or symbols that we use to worship the Supreme, and they have this discussion. And the very first pratika that Balaki says is, I worship the sun. Yeah, so Aditye Purushaha. I worship that supreme being who is inside the sun. Yeah, that is the greatest worship, is what Balaki is telling us, which seems okay when you look at it superficially. But here is a deeper philosophy. As I said, here is a Kshatriya who is much more knowledgeable than this egoistic Brahmana. And he says, no, just worshipping the supreme being in the sun is not good enough. Okay, there is the sun, there is the sun devata, and inside the sun devata is the Antaryamin, and you are saying there is this inside the sun is the Surya Narayana, and I am going to worship him. Just worshipping him as Surya Narayana is not going to take you anywhere. So Ajata Shatru is actually talking about a deeper level of philosophy with regards to how the contemplation and upasanas that is taught to us in the Upanishads and Gita should actually happen. He immediately, when this Balaki says this, what Ajata Shatru says is, don't tell me this. I worship that Surya Narayana as Atishtaha Sarvesham Bhutanam Murda Raja Itiva Aham Etam Upasa Iti. So he puts some profound words there. He talks about Atishtaha Sarvesham Bhutanam Murda Raja Iti. So he says, do you know that Surya Narayana who is there inside the sun, whom now we are discussing as Savithru, and I hope it makes relevance here. Because we are discussing this Savithru, we have to take up this particular incident where Ajata Shatru is reminding us, just thinking about the Surya Narayana and the sun is not good enough, mate. What you should know is who that Surya Narayana is. What kind of attributes are you going to be thinking about that Surya Narayana when you do Upasana? And Ajata Shatru says, Atishtaha Sarvesham Bhutana Murda and Raja. He says, you know that Surya Narayana, I worship him as the abode of three preeminent attributes. Atishtaha, Sarvesham Bhutanam Murda, Raja. Okay, so what are these three attributes? To understand what the gravity of what Ajata Shatru is telling us, we should actually go and understand the rest of the Gayatri Mantra properly in its full etymological sense. When you understand that, then you understand the beauty of what Ajata Shatru is actually teaching. Look at our system. We have discussed this before in the Vedic times. Everything was vertical. Yeah, a Kshatriya teaching a Brahmana, and all those things was happening everywhere. Knowledge is important, not by birth. Nobody is knowledgeable by birth. You are knowledgeable by your swabhava and your attributes. And here is a great king who is teaching an egoistic Brahmana. I'll come to that, what that Atishtaha is, Sarvesham Bhutana Murda is, and Raja in the next slides. We still haven't finished with who the Savithru is. The fourth concept that we should know about what that Savituhu is very, very, very important. I can't stress enough, because the etymology of the word Savituhu is entirely different from what people seem to think it to be. Yeah, in the colloquial sense, it might mean the sun, but actually, Savituhu comes from the Sanskrit word prasavita. Prasavita equals Savituhu. Look at that word prasavita. Okay, I have brought another word here called prasava. Okay, who is going to tell me what is the meaning of prasava, either in Hindi or in Tamil or in Kannada or any of the Indian languages? What is prasava mean? Can I have some volunteers, please? What is prasavam? Prasava means.
In Kannada, it is to have a baby, deliver.
Yeah, in Tamil is pregnancy.
Brilliant. So prasava, delivery. Sheilaji, thank you very much. So prasava means delivery. Yeah, and why do we use the word prasava? Because it comes from the Sanskrit root word prasavita. Prasavita literally means prasavita jagato janaka iti savita, sute iti savita. That is the root etymology of savita. That means he who delivers the universe. A mother delivers a baby, so we call it as prasava. Okay, who delivers the universe? It is the supreme being who delivers the universe. So that meaning, that prasavita, comes from the supreme being. It is a name of the supreme being. Prasavita. He is called Prasavita because Prasavita Jagato Janaka iti Savita. Sute iti Savita. So I hope you are able to appreciate what the gravity of that word is, because that is the very first sutra of Badarayana, Janmadhyasya Yataha. The second sutra of Badarayana, which is Janmadhyasya Yataha, which is the definition of the supreme being. Who is the supreme being? Atato Brahma Jijnasa. You are saying, then therefore Brahman inquiry shall begin. But who is this fellow? Badarayana immediately says, Janmadhyasya Yataha. He who has brought world, created the world and other bits and bobs. So that delivery of the universe is Prasavita. Mundaka Upanishad, we have done this beautiful verse during our discussions on creation, where we said, Yata Urnanabihi Srujate Gruhnate cha Yata Pruthivyam Oshadayaha Sambhavanti Yata Sataha Purusha Eshalomani Tata Aksharat Sambhavati Iha Vishwam. There the very first word, few words become very interesting. Yata Urnanabihi Srujate Gruhnate cha, and it compares how this delivery of the universe comes from Brahman. It's like how the spider from its womb makes the web and then it withdraws the womb back. Exactly the same way this creation of the universe happens, and that is what is the root word meaning for Savituhu. Savituhu comes from Prasavita, and Prasavita means he who has delivered the universe. So I hope I'm giving you an entirely different angle to how to look at Gayatri Mantra. When you look at this from these aspects, it's exciting, it's beautiful, it just fits into our Vedic Sanatana Dharma perfectly. HinduKnowledgeAcademy.com will celebrate Vedic culture and present its philosophies to the modern Hindu in an accessible format. Our ancient heritage is our greatest strength. Through preservation and dissemination, together let us spread positivity in the world. Thank you for listening and welcome to Hindu Knowledge Academy.